ship is drifting, but the captain's at a party. Pretoria answered the call, like it gone to sleep, Adam got me stand tall. In the harbor of Durban, the seal ships ride. The ANC plays a game of seek and hide. They call for the exercise in like the east wind, and point to Beijing and say they're the ones who sin. So I was on the nest, I guess at the gate. Now they say who invited them, it must have been fake. Confusion in the Union building, shadows on the wall. Now the truth gets buried in the marble hall. Who is running the land? Tell me, who's in command? Is it the suit in the office or the gun in there? Oh, that from the Congo mud to the Pretoria street, the drums of the rock start to skip a beat. No books for the boys, no armor for the chest, but millions for the dollar on the boat, take a rest. And she speaks of an inquiry, a court to be won, but the days turn to weeks and the paper is torn. No answers coming down as the heavy silence, while the heroes in the bush face no rebel violence. Set to the jungle with no wings in the sky, only 3 helicopters, how can they fly? No medevac coming when they let us to rain, chased by the rebels, oh the pride and the pain. No uniform, no boot, no boots, away. Look at the budget for the big salute. P7, 2 million for retirement spree. Modern Navy is sinking beneath the sea. Not a submarine moving, not a sailor in sight, but the body lights are burning to the Pretoria night. The chief of defense, he's a law to himself. The commander of the Navy puts the stay on the self, defying the podium, ignoring the sir, while the ghost of the fly starts to wake and to stir. And what's this whisper? What's this dark news? The chairman charged with murder, and he's the one they choose. Promoted to the top, while the dockets go forward. Is this the new story that's being told? Who is running the land? Tell me, who's in command? Is it Siren? Is it Lange? Does Ronnie understand? Oh, from the Pound Hopper to the Pretoria street, the drums of the rope start to skip a beat. No boost for the boys, no armor for the chest, but million for the tenor on the moat. Take the rest. The generals are dancing, the politicians are glancing, the money is vanishing, and the soldiers are wandering. Who's the boss? Siren. Who's the boss? And King. The military's gone rogue in the sun, but parade has only just begun.
Vir 300 jaar was hy die enigste naam, die ou in die hoed wat al die skuld geneem het. Arme ou Jan met sy Nederlandse oosvloot, westig winkel op 'n straat in Kaapstad. Die ANC het 'n gunsteling reël gehad, as dinge verkeerd loop is dit 'n Jan gemaakte ontwerp. Van die moenie trek door die wenners parade, elke enkele skuld was 'n prys wat Jan betaal het. Voorkoor. O, die geskiedenisboeke kry rus. Ons het 'n nuwe ou gevind om op die proef te stel. Sit die portret weg. Bære die ou veerpin. Daar is 'n splinternuwe skak vir die politieke wetsontwerp. Koor, ons verruil die Jankaart vir 'n Trumpkaart. Dis die blink nuwe manier om die blamspel hard te speel. Gaan die krag uit, is die pad vol gate. Moenie na die begroting of die kieserspeilings kyk nie. Draai net daar die kaart om, sien die goue hare. Die dom is die rede vir die slytasie. Ons verruil vandag die Jankaart vir 'n Trumpkaart. Die infrastruktuur verkrummel, die krane loop leeg. Maar moenie vra hoe en moenie vra hoekom. Nie vergeet die jare van dieselfde ou groep. Die oranje man en Daisy kom vir jou. Ongelykheid styg, dis 'n Mar-a-Lago komplot. Hy is so gemeen en boos, glo dit of nie. Die oorspronklike gangster is uit-ideer, want Jan van Riebeeck is nie meer moordnieuws nie. Brug is die nuwe sondebok. Die vars allebei. Wanneer die beloftes in 'n leuen verander, koers sluit aan. Amerika is gemeen, die wêreld is so koud. Dis die beste storie wat nog ooit vertel is. Kry jou kaart, speel jou deel, gitaar, sing dit is solo. Ons wil die jankkaart vir 'n tramkaart. Dis die blink nuwe manier om die blankspoel hard te speel. Gaan die krag uit, is die pad vol gate. Moenie na die begroting of die kieserspeilings kyk nie. Draai net daar die kaart om, sien die goue hare. Die don is die rede vir die slytasie. Ja, ons wil vandag die jankkaart vir 'n tramkaart. Ons wil die jankkaart, tot ziens Jan.
Sien jou later,
Hallo Don,
jy's die heiter.
dis nou alles sy skuld, elke liewe bietjie daarvan. Kyk na die kaart, baba.
Laaste vonkel in die sintklokkie.
Marvin Divine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the program. Let's see how the sound check is. A little bit slow here. Why is the delay? Let's see how sounds good. All right, look, I'm not in a playful mood. People think it's funny. Your comments can be deleted. Simple as that. Very simple instructions, and I'm tired of people being disrespectful to my other viewers. Let's focus on what we're here for. If you have questions about the RFD program, we have a Sunday program. I'm reaching the stage where I'm simply going to start blocking these numbers from South Africans. Everybody's case is urgent. Oh, I'm more important than anybody else. Oh, it's all about me. Oh, it's terrible. You know, my empathy factor is rapidly diminishing. The rest of the world can't come to America as refugees anymore. But because you got contacted in November and you haven't been contacted since, you're the most important person in the world. Does that hurt your feelings? Well, I'm sure millions of people waiting to come to America as refugees who can't come here now probably don't care about your feelings. My WhatsApp collapsed this morning. I couldn't use it. I had to crash the program and restart it. Urgent, urgent, urgent. 90% of things people claim are urgent are not even remotely urgent. They're just lazy people, too lazy to check for something on themselves. I have answered hundreds of thousands of questions like this over the past year for people being lazy. And these people just stab me in the back. They don't even watch my program. They don't even watch this. They don't contribute to this community. They use me and they go elsewhere. Oh, Professor D, you're so wonderful. Oh, Leela, you're so wonderful. They are wonderful people. Well, that's where you put your patronage when you waste my time. You know, waste their time. Don't waste my time anymore. You know? And for those of you who have a really urgent situation, like, let me give you an example of an urgent situation, okay? Let's say you're put into a crappy apartment and you wake up disoriented and nearly vomiting and confused. What's going on here? You walk out the door and you get a breath of fresh air and you come back to your senses after a few minutes. You nearly died because of carbon monoxide poisoning. That is urgent. That's a real issue. That's a real problem. Not, well, they're not helping with my CV. Have you heard of AI? Have you heard of Google? Have you heard of the internet? Instead of pissing and moaning, they're not helping me, do something for yourself. Our feelings hurt? That's on you, not on me. I have been unbelievably patient with people for over a year now. Unbelievably patient. All right. Okay, now that the whiny crybabies are leaving, there'll be a few of them leaving. Anyway, for those who want help, who really have an issue, I'll try to help as best I can, which is what I've been doing all along. But this stems from a lack of gratitude. Because people, their case is so important. I try to help them. I can make you no promises. I don't work for the U.S. government. I don't have influence over the U.S. government. Well, actually I do, without realizing I've discovered. But the point is that I don't have any ability to make the U.S. government do something. And I sure as hell have no control over RSC or Church World Services or IRC or Lutheran Church Services or Hebrew and Refugee or Jewish Family Services. I have no control over these people who make billions of dollars off of me and other Americans to bring you here. Also, having listened to the emotional comment from Mad Max, leaving from his hotel this morning to go to the airport to fly to his final destination. Very calm, but I could hear him getting choked up at the end after telling me about how little people realize what's involved here because he got to see it all firsthand. And this constant, we've been ignored, we've been forgotten. No, you haven't. Did you get a letter of denial? You haven't been forgotten. Okay? You haven't been forgotten. Stop this nonsense. And no, you can't get to the front of the queue. And no, you can't. There's no phone number to call. And no, there's nothing. It's what it is. It's the way it is. If you don't like it, then move to Madagascar. If you think it's unfair, then withdraw from the program. If you're unhappy that you wound up in New Hampshire or Texas or Maine, that's on you. Collect your winnings and move somewhere else. Finished and Clar? Done and dusted? Corey, the number of people that can't help themselves is growing exponentially. I have solved so many problems for people by simply looking things up myself that they could have done themselves. I don't know how people survived in South Africa if they're this incapable of managing to use their phone and the internet. I really don't understand. How did they get it? Anyway, look, that's not brought on by a refugee question here, so don't be beating up the person who put the question in there. That's brought on by having to reboot my WhatsApp several times, having had hundreds of numbers blocked because there's just nonsense coming in. And I'm not angry. Oh my gosh, Son of Bloom, you have no idea. You haven't seen me angry. OGs, weigh in. Debaram, has she seen me angry? No. You guys, hey Chris Sailors, what's going on? Yeah, what's the phone internet? What are you trying to be, Matthew Dixon? You haven't seen me angry, folks. This isn't angry. This is for effect. This is for emphasis. People need to start using their brain. Some people. Most people, it's not an issue. But some people. It's really... Yes, Garrett, you're right. I do make it easy for the abuse. I've tolerated things you've said for a long time. People ask you to be blocked from the channel. I've never blocked you from the channel. Dozens of people ask you to be blocked from the channel. You're right. I do make it too easy for the abuse. You're right. I do. I've never blocked you from the channel. No, that's right. This is not angry. Yeah, Sharina, this is not angry. Nope. Anyway. All right. So, yeah, that's not angry. I'm just trying to make a point here, folks. Your first instinct shouldn't be to go, woe is me. Your first instinct should be, okay, how do we fix this? How are we going to fix this? And then only reach out to Professor G or Lily or me or someone else if you've got a real problem you can't solve. But most of these problems are problems people can solve. The Rochester problem, those people couldn't solve that problem. That evil shrew that was their case officer was a bigot and a racist against everybody. So they couldn't have solved that problem. The only way that got solved is because I brought sunlight to it. And they scurried like rats, as evidenced by the jerk off who was abusive towards me on the streets. And I know who you are, dickweed. We've got your name and we've got your number. And I'm not done with Rochester, by the way. Just a matter of time. Anyway, all right. So there. Now everybody's getting it. Not everybody. Bunch of people getting it. Watch out. See, that's a problem when you stand in front of a 12 gauge. You get buckshot. All right. So be careful you don't become a collateral damage in this conversation. All right. I need the glasses. My eyes are just not right today. All right. Anyway. All right. So there you have it. That's important. All right. I just did a short on this because, frankly, I've spent an hour and a half this morning when I should have been focusing on other things. Now, see, that's going to get you a timeout. Your comments removed. You think that's funny. I see that, and what I take from that is you're laughing at me, so your comment's been deleted. Yep. Anyway, all right. Let's get going, folks. Whew. All right. By the way, here's some good news. I'm back in my Twitter account. The scumbags from the State Security Agency who tried to mask their effort to get into my account and change it by putting security measures in that I couldn't get into it from Seattle using an IP address there, using a VPN. You've been defeated, at least for now, and you are locked out, and I've been restored access to my Twitter account after 3 weeks. Yep, there you go. Thank you, Twitter, X, for fixing that. I'm back into my Twitter account. For those of you who don't know, it's at WMW Chris on Twitter. That is the Twitter. Please join me on Twitter if you haven't done it already. I've been on that there since 2006, one of several accounts. Yep, finally got back in. Wasn't easy. And all the people who claim that they do something about Twitter and how it works, maybe you do, maybe you don't. None of that helped me, but I appreciate your effort. Yes, we're going to cover that. We're going to cover that story and Mugabe's son here in just a moment. Okay, so just deleting stuff left and right here. If my mods aren't doing it, I'll do it. I just delete another one. Yeah, there it is. Thank you, Hendo. All right, let's get to the news. I think people want to know about that. The former prince has been arrested. Some people are saying detained. Other media outlets are saying arrested. Let's get to that story. Ladies and gentlemen, former Prince Andrew arrested amidst the Epstein probe. Although they claim it's not Epstein related, he's abusing his office. King Charles says royal family supports full investigation as his younger brother is detained on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Police arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the former Prince Andrew, on suspicion of misconduct in public office. King Charles said Thursday he had learned of the news regarding his younger brother with the deepest concern, but the royal family supported full investigation. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course. Thames Valley Police said they arrested the man in his 60s and were carrying out searches at addresses in Berkshire, which is home to Windsor Castle in Norfolk, where Andrew is currently living in a cottage on a royal estate. Police in the UK don't normally name suspects when they're arrested, but most suspects aren't held in custody for long before they're either formally charged or released pending further investigation. Police didn't give any further details on his arrest. Disclosures about Mountbatten Windsor's dealings with Epstein have dominated headlines in Britain. He was stripped of his duke titles and moved out of his royal residence in Windsor. That's at the death of his mother in 2022. Former Prince Andrew arrested in Britain over Epstein ties, says the New York Times. But according to the government, it's not his Epstein ties. It's a stunning blow to the British monarchy and has escalated the long-running crisis at Buckingham Palace over the former prince's ties to Epstein and allegations of sexual abuse of a young woman. The police were seen Thursday morning at the Sandringham Estate, a privately owned 20,000-acre country retreat of King Charles and Queen Camilla, where Mr. Mountbatten Windsor has been living. A tranche of documents released by the U.S. Department of Justice on January 30th include a number of emails that suggest that Mountbatten Windsor may have shared confidential documents when working as a British trade envoy. In one email, it appears to afford Mr. Epstein official reports about visits he made to South Asia in 2010 that were sent to him by his assistant. Wow. So he gave away British secrets. So he gave away their secrets. Wow. Well, there you go. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor arrested. What a fall from grace. Misconduct in public office. Former British prince was stripped of his royal titles because of his links to convicted sex offender, was arrested Thursday on suspicion of misconduct of public office. And here you go. There's a document showing the exchange. I'm just departing Scotland. Should be down by 1800. I'll ring you when I get down. If you can give me a number to ring. Alternatively, you could have dinner at Buckingham Palace and lots of privacy. Wow. From Epstein to the Duke. 2010. He turned 66 today and got arrested. Well, happy birthday, Andrew. Following a thorough assessment, we now open investigation into this allegation of misconduct in public office. Wow. The late Queen Elizabeth II forced her son to give up royal duties and end his charitable work in 2019 after he tried to explain away his ties to Epstein during a catastrophic interview with the BBC. Wow, it's all coming down on the royal family. That's crazy, folks. Absolutely crazy. Well, let's be the real builders of South Africa. President Cyril Ramaphosa says that the real builders of South Africa are the ANC. The majority black party are the people who are really building South Africa. Does this correlate with what you know of South Africa? I ask my audience. Does this correlate to what you know? That's not what I've seen. What I've seen is the ANC have been the destructors of South Africa, the failed state of South Africa under the African National Congress. But Ramaphosa says, let's build this. We are the real builders of South Africa. Let's work together. Really? I mean, he thinks Cyril Ramaphosa is on some sort of narcotic. He's on silly juice. Silly juice. I don't know what he's talking about. Well, the son of Robert Mugabe, the detestable little swine, has been arrested in a shooting in Johannesburg. One of the privileged little turd balls who have been living a privileged life from stolen wealth. Police in South Africa detained the youngest son of Zimbabwe's late former scumbag, Robert Mugabe, after a reported shooting at a property in upmarket suburb of Joburg. Why is he living in South Africa? He is a Zimbabwean national. Why does he live in South Africa? Bellarmine Mugabe, 28, was taken into custody after a 23-year-old man believed to be a gardener was shot in what police are describing as a case of attempted murder. Officers searching the house in Hyde Park where Mugabe was staying and found bullet cartridges but no firearm. Bellarmine Mugabe is the youngest son of Mugabe and second wife Grace Mugabe, who died. He died in 2019. Two people have been detained for questioning as the South African police determine the circumstances of the shooting, but neither has been arrested. Yeah, well, according to other reports, he's been arrested. The victim is in critical condition after being shot once. Worker shot at Mugabe home in Hyde Park, Joburg. Two questioned gardener's condition is critical after the shooting. Look at this little scumbag, never done anything in his life except been a shitbird. And look at where he gets to live while South Africans starve. Look at this piece of shit and where he lives. Look at that. Police are at the family residence of the late former Zimbabwean President Mugabe in Hyde Park. Why do they have a palatial mansion in South Africa on stolen wealth? This piece of feces living in South Africa. One of those taken for questioning is the son of the late former Zimbabwean dictator, fascist scumbag. Speaking outside the house, police spokesman Colonel Dimakatso Nevhulawai said the police had sent a dog unit inside the house to search for a firearm that's alleged to have been used in the shooting. They have not found the firearm as of a couple hours. Wow. Living like kings while other people are starving. Robert Mugabe's son being questioned in Joburg for allegedly shooting a gardener. Wow. He initially locked himself inside a room, but later surrendered after negotiations with police. Two neighbors told News 24 that Bellarmine often fired his gun into the air. It's alleged that he chased and shot the gardener who tried to flee before falling near a neighbor's house. A neighbor who witnessed the incident claimed to have heard two gunshots coming from inside the house. Moments later, he saw the victim running out of the residence with Bellarmine chasing him with a firearm. The victim was on the street, lying in the grass, pleading for his life. He added that the gunman appeared to notice him watching while he was holding the phone to his ear. According to the neighbor, Mugabe's son pleaded with the gardener to come back inside the house to talk, but he refused. The victim refused, reportedly fearing for his life. Bellarmine then walked back into the house with the gun still in his hand. Wow. Saw Mugabe running into his home carrying a gun. The victim was lying on the street. Well, there you go, folks. As long as the neighbor is not afraid of being murdered for being a witness, we have this guy dead to rights. We have him dead to rights. Yeah, why does he even have a gun? Good point, Garrett. Why does he even have a gun? He's a foreign national in South Africa. Why does he have a firearm? Chemical fire in Germiston prompts 500-meter evacuation after explosions. Another chemical fire in South Africa. What the hell is going on in South Africa? Are there no safety checks of these sites? A massive chemical factory fire in Germiston South prompted evacuations within a 500-meter radius after multiple explosions were reported this afternoon. Emergency service taking extreme precautions due to gas tankers at the scene and unknown volatile chemicals stored. How do you have unknown chemicals stored at a facility? Thankfully, no fatalities have been reported. William Ntaladi, spokesman for the Ekurhuleni Disaster and Emergency Management Services, said, "We're evacuating all the personnel and staff members around the factory itself until we find out exactly what chemicals they have and the dangers that are related to them." How do people not know what the chemicals are? Talk about irresponsible. Well, good for Grace Mugabe, but he's not a South African. He's a Zimbabwean. The Winter Olympics, Norway continues to run away with its 16 gold medals now, nearly twice as many as the closest follower, which is Italy with 9. 34 medals in total, Italy with 26, United States with 24. But the big event is today at 1 p.m. In 1 hour and 40 minutes, the United States will be playing for the gold medal game in women's hockey. That's coming up at 1:10 versus Canada, the big one. Switzerland and Sweden have played for the bronze, and Switzerland won the bronze medal in women's hockey. Congratulations to Switzerland on winning the bronze medal. Wow. Sweden probably very disappointed. Their men's team lost yesterday in extra time to the United States, being knocked out. Didn't even make it to the quarterfinal or beyond the quarterfinal, so they won't get any medal. So Sweden ends the hockey competition with no medals, and they've got to be disappointed there. The women thought maybe they could get it. No inspectors are competent enough to know what is dangerous. Probably true. Ronnie Lamola tells Democratic Alliance they must decide on whether they want to be part of the GNU or not. Ronnie Lamola must decide whether he wants to be remembered as a complete buffoon or just a minor idiot. That's when he needs to decide. Yeah, they probably don't do inspections anywhere in South Africa, that's for sure. Banana Republic, yep. Well, 4 South Africans who went off to fight in Ukraine and murder Ukrainians for the Russian forces, then claimed that they were hoodwinked by MK, have returned to South Africa. Apparently not all have died there. The withdrawal follows talks between Ramaphosa and Putin. Oh, that's why he's talking to Putin. Oh, it's not for trade. It's to get back MK members. 4 South African men who were recruited to fight in the Ukraine war return to South Africa. Are they being arrested for mercenary activity? Will the government arrest these people for participating in mercenary operations since it's illegal in South Africa? They tried to arrest people who served as contractors for security services in Iraq, 15,000 South Africans, black, white, and brown. Are they going to arrest these people for their complicity in participating in illegal warfare? Will they do that? Will they be arrested? Will they? I don't think so. I don't think so. They're among a group of 17 men who are allegedly lured to Russia with promises of employment, but ended up fighting alongside Russian forces in the war against Ukraine. What do you mean allegedly? They had employment. They were there as mercenaries. They had employment. And here you go. Even the Washington Post is covering the story about Mugabe's dirtbag son. The son of late Mugabe, President Mugabe, is detained over a shooting. South African national broadcaster says the son of former Zimbabwean president was one of 2 men detained for questioning. Here are his 2 sons. Son of former Zimbabwe President Robert Mugabe was detained for questioning along with another man on Thursday over the shooting of a man at a house in Joburg. Bel Armin Chatunga Mugabe. Detained. Well, were those MK members conned, or were they part of a willing program? First group of South Africans lured to Russia lands at OR Tambo. 4 South African men who were among the 17 lured to Russia under false pretenses and subsequently found themselves on the front lines landed back home on Wednesday afternoon. Will they be prosecuted? They've committed crimes. Woolworths. Now, this is going to go real well. Let me just give you a heads up now. Let's take a little Starbucks break here for a second. Thank you for your subscription there, Red Ant. Red Ant. Oh, okay. Get ready for that one, folks. Red Ant. Okay, we know who the Red Ants are. All right, so Woolworths is going to trial self-service checkouts. How do you think this is going to go? You think it'll go well? In America, we have a problem with people using self-service checkouts. There are a number of thieves. Imagine how bad it's going to be in South Africa. This is not going to go well. Woolworths has become the latest retail giant in South Africa to introduce self-service checkout tills, joining a growing trend in the growing and fast food sectors aimed at speeding up the shopping experience. The pilot program is currently running at the Foreshore store in Cape Town, where customers can scan and pay for the items themselves. A staff member remains on hand to assist shoppers and ensure the process operates smoothly. Companies dismiss suggestions the trial could lead to job losses, saying that till operators and other staff will be upskilled or redeployed. Yeah, right. Sure they will. Yeah, okay. Well, this isn't going to go well. Yeah, I don't know, Charles. They're going to lose a lot of money. Well, South Africa's growing black prosperity is a topic for Business Insider Africa after News 24 reported on this. Rising earnings among black South Africans significantly changed the racial makeup of the country's middle class. Actually, no, that's not what's changed it. 2024, 41% of black and white households each earn more than $75,000. What this story doesn't highlight anywhere in this section here, it doesn't talk anywhere about that, is that this is where it talks about down here. The collapse of the white middle class. 61% of white households earned 75,000 Rand or more in 2012, but only 41% earned that much in 2024. What does that mean? That means that 50% of white households have fallen and have less income. Why? Because of racism and racial exclusion. That's why. That's why. That's the real story. And of course, I covered that with a very insightful video, and almost nobody's seen it. Well, we're not fixing the foot and mouth disease problem. We can't fix that. But the first plum shipment is headed to China. Way, yay! Well done, John Steenhuisen. John Steenhuisen, well done. Well done. Though China imports about $200 billion in agricultural products annually, South Africa holds just 0.4% of that market. They aim to double it, its current 400 million Rand export within 4 years. This emerged during a visit by Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen to the Freshness First pack house in Franschhoek, from where the first shipment of stone fruit was prepared for export to China. Wow. They'll focus on 20,000 cartons of premium plums, primarily consisting of the African Delight and Ruby Star varieties. Wow. Well done, John. South Africa's cattle industry is collapsing. The price of beef is doubling, and farmers are going bankrupt by the hundreds. But we've got stone fruits to China. There you go, folks. Stone fruits to China. Well done, John. Well, I'm telling you, man, this was the right choice. He was the man for the job. Speaking of which, let's talk more about the white Minister of Agriculture. Yes. Yeah, have you met my white Minister of Agriculture who's busy talking about the sugar mill crisis where 40,000 livelihoods are at risk? Of course, this is something we've known about for years, and he's been Minister of Agriculture for nearly 2 years. Nearly 2 years. And this is the first time we've ever heard him talk about this publicly. But now he cares about it. He cares about it. Oh, he cares. Minister of Agriculture, that would be the white Minister of Agriculture, John Steenhuisen, has warned that South Africa's sugar industry is on the brink of collapse after Tongaat Hulett entered provisional liquidation. Not on the verge of collapse. It is collapsing. Michelle, thank you so much for the 70 Rand super chat. Appreciate that. Is the alert button on? Yes, it is. And Westhouse, no crap Sherlock. Yeah, exactly, Westhouse. Exactly. Yep. And the criminals near self-checkout, free shopping, then selling it off at ludicrous prices to already suffering people. Yep. Well, U.S. tariffs, I warned you, were going to be a big problem for South Africa's wine industry. Of course, South Africa's wine industry was crippled by the stupid provision that you couldn't move alcohol around during the lockdown. That was dumb. They had to rescind that. It took somebody with common sense to interject with idiots in government trying to destroy business during the lockdown because they were retards, didn't know what they're doing. U.S. tariffs make South Africa's wine costlier in the world's biggest wine market. Yes, the 30% tariffs have pushed up the price of South African wines, and it's consequentially led to a drop of 11% of exports to the U.S. in the third quarter, and then 39% further drop in the fourth quarter. So basically half of the exports in the United States are gone, and that's going to go down. 40,000 is a massive understatement. File for liquidation 27. We'll hear the... Yeah, no, you're right, Pat. Thank you for that. The 40,000 is going to be a lot higher than that. Yep. Meat prices have tripled in Nelspruit. Thank you for sharing that. Well, Zimbabwe is rolling out its HIV prevention drug, lenacapavir. The minister says they aim 46,000 people. Now, why are they getting it? Because they're still involved in U.S. trials, but South Africa no longer is. Zimbabwe health authorities on Thursday began administering the long-acting HIV prevention drug, lenacapavir, making the country one of the first globally to roll it out as the southern African nation seeks to curb new infections. Health Minister Douglas Mombashura said the program, funded by the U.S. and the Global Fund, would initially target more than 46,000 people at high risk of contracting HIV. Wow. Produced by Gilead Sciences, administered subcutaneous injection twice a year. Could overcome adherence challenges associated with daily oral PrEP pills. Zimbabwe has made significant progress in tackling HIV, achieving the 95-95-95 treatment target set by the UN, meaning 95% of people with HIV know their status, 95% of those diagnosed are on treatment, and 95% of those on treatment have suppressed viral loads. Well, there you go. One of the highest HIV burdens in Africa, but the largest in the world, of course, is South Africa. We never talk about that anymore, how South Africa is the epicenter of HIV. No one wants to talk about that. We just conveniently ignore that fact that it has over 8.5 million people with HIV. Zimbabwe's so-called war veterans are challenging the crocodile as extension in court. Veterans of Zimbabwe's Liberation War mounted a court challenge on Tuesday to propose changes to the Constitution that would extend presidential terms from 5 years to 7, allowing President Emerson Mnangagwa to stay in office until 2030. The octogenarian at 83 was meant to step down in 2028 after serving 2 illegitimate 5-year terms after having stolen an election and having come back illegally, first off. Chris Myberg loves self-service checkouts, but will go against them. Can't have anything nice. Yep. Well, I like self-service checkouts too. I use them a lot. But yeah, I'm honest. Yep. So here's a dishonest report from the propaganda outlet known as Al Jazeera. Holding hands, how Nigeria turned Trump's threats to military partnership. Trump and Nigeria appeared headed for a clash over bogus claims of a Christian massacre. There are no bogus claims. Christians have been massacred repeatedly, and so have Muslims. But this is just lies from a wackadoodle outlet. Now Nigeria is getting U.S. security help. No, they've been getting it for years. But that doesn't suit the narrative, because the narrative they want to create here is that how by Sumaya Ismail, she wants to create a narrative that Trump blinked. He threatened over a fake massacre. Well, first off, the massacre is real. There have been hundreds of them. Second off, Trump didn't blink. And third, the United States has been engaged militarily with the Nigerian government for not on 15 or 20 years. I know because I helped facilitate some of that happening. Yep. So this is another non-story being fabricated by Muslims who are trying to mislead the world. In early November, a social media post by United States and President Donald Trump set off alarm bells across Nigeria. Preparing to go into West African country, guns a-blazing. No, they weren't preparing. They said they threatened to do it. Very big difference there. There was no preparation. No U.S. troops were staging to go there. See, that's what they're implying. President Tinubu swiftly hit back, rejecting claims, saying that while the country faced a challenging security situation, it was untrue that Christians were specifically being targeted. That is also untrue. Muslims and Christians have specifically been a target. Yep. Trump administration was not appeased to place Nigeria in the country's of particular concern watch lists about religious freedom. Weeks later, on December 25th, the U.S. launched what Trump described as powerful and deadly strikes in Nigeria. That cooperation only appears to have grown, culminating in this week in 100 U.S. military personnel arrived in the country. Well, we've had 25 U.S. military personnel in the country for 20 years working with our intelligence center. These people are stupid. They don't know what they're talking about. It's comical. Gabon has suspended social media, citing threats to security and stability. Now you can't use social media in Gabon. Some social media platforms anyway. The High Authority for Communication ordered the immediate suspension until further notice without specifying which platforms were affected. Well, what's that all about? Internet monitoring group NetBlock said on Wednesday that access to Meta, YouTube, and TikTok are restricted in Gabon. Wow. But apparently Facebook, Instagram, and X remain accessible. Well, Facebook and Instagram are part of Meta, so I'm a little confused. Which is it? Well, if you don't like what people are saying, you block their ability to say it. That's what fascist totalitarian states do. Former South Korean president is sentenced to life imprisonment for following the Constitution. Yoon Suk-yeol previously told the court it was within the president's powers to call for a state of emergency, which under the Constitution is, that doing so cannot constitute an insurrection. And he's correct. And when he was overridden by Parliament, as the Constitution calls for, he immediately stood down. Yet they have put him in prison for life. The court found former South Korean president guilty of charges of abuse of authority and orchestrating insurrection in relation to his failed attempt at imposing martial law. Seoul Central District Court sentenced the 65-year-old to life imprisonment. Crime insurrection carries maximum penalty of life in prison or death penalty. They had sought the death penalty. Wow, these people are demented. It's the court's judgment sending troops to Parliament using equipment to try to make arrests all constitute acts of insurrection. No, it doesn't. You can't lead an insurrection against yourself. That's just stupid. This guy's being railroaded. Top U.S. commander in Latin America makes a surprise visit to Venezuela. Talks focus on regional security and implementation to get Washington's three-phase Venezuela strategy. The head of the U.S. military operations in Latin America met with acting Venezuelan leader Delcy Rodriguez and members of her cabinet on February 18th, yesterday, during a visit to Caracas, marking a high-level visit aimed at advancing Trump's three-phase plan for the country's stabilization. Marine General Francis Donovan, commander of U.S. Southern Command, was joined on a trip by senior Pentagon official Joseph Hummeyer and diplomat Laura Dogu. Dogu, that's Togolese. Charge d'affaires to the Venezuelan Affairs Unit. Well, a lieutenant general, that's normally a 4-star position. I wonder if he's just waiting for his 4th star. How did this South African story get out of here? I got a South African story that's out of sequence here. Apologies for that. Nobody knows what I'm going through. Convicted child rapist and murderer Amberly Hughes. Oh, poor Amberly. She sat on and murdered a child after she sexually assaulted this little girl. Convicted child rapist and murderer Amberly Hughes told the court on Thursday that nobody here, especially media, knows what's going on behind the scenes, what I'm going through in prison. Well, nobody gives a flying flip. You evil shrew. Initially, she pled not guilty and protested her innocence, but of course she got caught, and now she's trying to claim that she's been abused as a child. Yep. She celebrated her birthday today, or same day as Prince Andrew. Well, former Prince Andrew. She's now been in jail for 3 years. And during the first year, I suffered from severe depression. I had mental breakdowns because I was recovering from a relationship I had with the child's father. She maintained her time in prison. She had grown emotionally. You really think anyone gives a crap? You evil shrew. You murdered a defenseless child by sitting on her in a tub. You think anybody cares what you feel, how you feel? Sick, twisted people. Ladies and gentlemen, the latest fake media news outlet is ZDF, the German broadcaster. Germany's state broadcaster got caught airing fake AI footage of ICE troops arresting immigrants. ZDF ran images, ADI-generated images with a visible open AI Sora watermark on the screen and called them troops instead of agents. Did ZDF generate this themselves? If Germany's biggest state broadcaster is making fake news footage in-house, how often has this happened before? Look at that right there. There's the watermark. Fake news. Fake news. The Ministry of Propaganda. Yep. Look at that. Fake. AI generated. At least the AI watermark was there. Wow.
Wer in den sozialen Netzwerken unterwegs ist, wird festgestellt haben, dass es sehr viele Videos zu den Einsätzen der ICE-Truppen von Donald Trump gibt. Nicht alle sind echt, aber doch sehr viele.
ICE-Truppen. Du alter, schreckliche Hexer.
Und die Gewalt, mit der die Abschiebekräfte oftmals vorgehen und auch die Willkür, die
That woman does not look even remotely German.
dort zu sehen ist, hat auf jeden Fall eines erreicht. Es herrscht ein Klima der Angst, das selbst vor Kindern nicht Halt macht.
Der Klima der Angst, besonders vor Kindern. The climate of fear, especially for children. Well, of course, when you create fake AI, say they have frauds caught after 60 years of deceiving the German people, they have been caught. Germany is gone. Fascist, Goebbels, Ministry of Propaganda, state-owned broadcaster at ZDF. Yeah, she looks Turkish, Charles. Doesn't look German. Major European allies have declined to join Trump's board of peace. Do you know why? Do you know why they don't want to join his board of peace? Dozens of world leaders are headed to Washington for what will largely be a fundraiser today. And Trump spoke earlier at this event. So do you know why the Europeans don't want to be part of the board for peace? I'll tell you why. Because it has a chance of succeeding. It has a chance of working. And they don't want to be involved in peace. They're arms merchants. Rheinmetall. All kinds of European weapons manufacturers. Yeah, Carnival Königen. I like that. It's good. The U.S. is gathering the largest military force in the Persian Gulf in ages. Large numbers of military aircraft and ships at sea have arrived in the region or the Eastern Med, positioned to defend Israel and to attack Iran. It's getting spicy. The United States forces are withdrawing completely from Syria, leaving the 1,000 troops are pulling out. Let them shower in hotels. That's another one that's out of place. That's from last night. This is Panyazi Lesufi's ignorance and stupidity and his total disconnectedness from the people of South Africa. Iran is getting ready for war with the United States. Yep, the regime is trying to boost its odds of survival if diplomatic talks fall through. Well, diplomatic talks have failed. Let's just be honest. They're deploying forces, dispersing decision-making authority, fortifying their nuclear sites, and expanding crackdown on domestic dissent because they're getting ready for an attack. Johnson & Johnson will invest $1 billion in a new Pennsylvania cancer facility. It's part of the company's $55 billion plan announced in March to expand its U.S. manufacturing, research, and development footprint. Johnson & Johnson announced it would invest more than $1 billion in next-gen cell therapy manufacturing facility in Montgomery, Pennsylvania, north of downtown Philadelphia. It will create 500 biomanufacturing jobs and 4,000 trade jobs during construction. Well, yes, they're withdrawing from Eurovision because they're racists and they're bigots and they're anti-Semitic turds. U.S. military is prepared to strike Iran as early as this weekend, claims CNN. Trump has not made the call yet. But we do have Friends and Family Only Friday tomorrow, so let's see if Trump makes a call. Meta chief Mark Zuckerberg testifies in high-stakes social media addiction trial in Los Angeles. What a ridiculous lawsuit. The plans to attorney Mark Lanier wasted no time setting the moral tone, opening with the suggestion that there are different ways to deal with vulnerable people, help them, ignore them, or prey upon them. At the center of the case is a 19-year-old California woman identified in court documents by the initials KGM or KelseyGM, who's accusing tech giants of engineering products that rewire young people's brains and trap them in a cycle of addiction and mental illness. Why just young people? Leslie says, my family in Israel confirms that citizens have been advised to ensure their shelters are prepared and stocked for tomorrow morning. Yep, 100%. Leslie, 100%. And they should. They should. Because the Iranians will fire missiles at Israel to murder civilians. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. That will be their reaction. And that's why we have to put ships in the Eastern Med. Donald Trump says the Middle East is on the verge, the cusp of peace. But Iran is a problem. U.S. will contribute $10 billion to the Board of Peace. Wow. It was already going to be $5 billion. It was going to be put in by everybody. Now we're putting in $10 billion more. The war in Gaza is over. It's over. There are little flames, little flames. Yep. He said Hamas will be harshly met if they do not give up their weapons. 9 countries have contributed $7 billion. Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, UAE, Morocco, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Uzbekistan, and Kuwait. All nations who are Muslim or Arabic. Well, that's interesting. But where are the Europeans? They don't want to rebuild Gaza. They don't want peace in the Middle East. Only the Muslim and Arab countries and the United States are doing this. Interesting. Take note of that, folks. Well, abortion clinics are declining across America. Good news for life. Even as states become key access points. Dozens of abortion clinics are closing in the U.S. after a Supreme Court's Dobbs decision revoked the federal unconstitutional right to abortion in June 2022. There were 753 brick and mortar abortion clinics in the U.S. at the end of 2025, 54 fewer than in 2020, including a net loss of 12 abortion clinics since March of 2024. Running a clinic in an environment like we have today oftentimes is not sustainable, says Brittany Fontano, President and CEO of the National Abortion Federation. How in the God's green acre can you be proud of being the president of a National Abortion Federation? What the hell is wrong with somebody like that? You exist for the murder of human beings. Sick. Among the clinics that closed last year was a Planned Parenthood in New York City, the nonprofit's only location in Manhattan. The closure was a big blow, says Chelsea Williams-Digg, executive director of the New York Abortion Access Fund. All clinic closures are a travesty, but the Planned Parenthood in Blicker Street was a powerhouse of a clinic that was able to do so much for folks. And it murdered thousands of American citizens in the womb. Well, here's a story. And Maryland's useless, pathetic waste of human space, Governor Wes Moore, is trying to blame it on the federal government and Donald Trump, despite the fact that the state of Maryland controls virtually all of the Potomac. Yes, they dumped sewage and didn't even know about it. And they polluted downstream fisheries. Trump is concerned with the Potomac River sewage stench, with America celebrating 250-year celebrations for summer. President Trump is worried about the stench of the Potomac River after a sewage pipe collapsed near the Capitol dumped hundreds of millions of gallons of raw sewage into the river. Presidents blame local leaders such as Wes Moore for the disaster and called on them to ask the federal government for help in the cleanup. Administration has a number of events planned for the celebration. So Maryland, are they trying to sabotage the nation's 250th anniversary? Earthen barriers near Lock 10 on the C&O Canal helped direct sewage back into the Potomac Interceptor after a section of the 6-foot wide sewage pipe collapsed last month between the Clara Barton Parkway and the canal. President Donald Trump is worried the stench of the Potomac River will put 250-year celebrations in a funk after a sewage pipe collapse near Washington, D.C. dumped hundreds of millions of gallons of raw sewage into the river. He's worried about that, which is why the federal government wants to fix it, and we hope the local authorities will cooperate with us in doing so, said Carolyn Levitt. Trump singled out Wes Moore of Maryland over the spill. There's been no improvement under the leadership of Governor Moore. He's clearly shown he's incapable of fixing this problem, which is why President Trump and the federal government are standing by to step in. The sewage pipe he's talking about is on federal land, Moore said, and though over the past 4 weeks, Trump administration has failed to act. To blame Maryland in this when it's a D.C. pipe on federal land is asinine. It's disingenuous, absurd, and politically motivated. The Potomac collapse is owned and operated by DC Water, an independent public utility that's been handling repairs. It's part of the Potomac Interceptor sewage line and located alongside the Clara Barton Parkway in Maryland, outside the capital city. Yep. And ask why only governor because he's black, well, sort of black. The only reason that he is governor is because of that. He's a Democrat and he's black. That's why he's governor. Yeah, he says the president once asked me nice. My response is, please, Mr. President, do your job. It collapsed in Maryland, dumbass. Yeah, let him try to deflect on that. Maryland Governor Wes Moore trying to blame the government over 240 million gallon Potomac disaster. Catastrophic sewage spills dumped 240 million gallons of raw sewage into the Potomac, creating what Maryland officials describe as one of the worst ecological disasters in the eastern part of the United States. The massive rupture went undetected for days before security cameras spotted the breach on January 19th. Not even humans. E. coli levels have exploded downstream, forcing shellfish fishery closures nearly 60 miles south to the Harry Nice Bridge, while sewage visibly clings to debris floating through the nation's capital. Instead of taking responsibility, Maryland Governor Wes Moore has chosen the path of deflection and blame shifting. Moore's own track record speaks volumes. The Francis Scott Key Bridge rebuild has ballooned over $5.2 billion, more than double original estimates under this idiot. Yep. The Democrats talk about being of the common man, yet they have a $25,000 per plate fundraiser, including Jimmy Kimmel. Democrats preach equality while hosting an exclusive high-dollar fundraiser headlined by late-night host Jimmy Dumbass Kimmel for wealthy coastal donors. The fundraiser featured several donation tiers with a minimum contribution of $25,000 to attend. Higher levels include $44,300 leader circle and event chair option priced at $100,000 and a $310,000 tier allowing donors to identify themselves as part of the Jeffries 300. What the hell is the Jeffries 300? Let's take a look at some of the U.S. Olympians so far. There's Michaela Schifrin, who just won a gold in skiing slalom. Silver for Gus Schumacher and Ben Ogden, cross-country skiing in the two-man relay. The U.S. got themselves a cross-country skiing medal. Bronze by Jake Canner in snowboarding slope style. Silver for Emery Lehman, Casey Dawson, Ethan Sepperin, speed skating team pursuit. Silver for Mac Forehand in freestyle skiing men's big air. That was an incredible jump. I saw his jump. Gold and bronze for Ilana Taylor-Myers. She finally got a gold medal after 4th or 5th Olympics. And Kaylee Humphreys, armbruster, got the bronze. Jordan Stoltz, speed skating in the men's 500 meters. He got another one too. Silver and bronze for Jaylene Kauf and Elizabeth Lemmy, freestyle skiing women's dual moguls. Silver for Chloe Kim in the snowboarding women's half pipe. Bronze for Jessie Diggins, cross-country skiing the women's 10-kilometer freestyle. That was a huge medal for her. Silver for Madison Chalk and Evan Bates as they failed to get the gold medal. Huge disappointment. Gold for Jordan Stoltz in the men's 1,000 meters. Gold and silver, Elizabeth Lemmy and Jalen Kauf, freestyle skiing women's moguls. So 4 medals in the moguls now. Silver for Ryan Cochran-Siegel in the men's skiing men's Super G. That was good surprise. And silver for Corey Tisa and Corey Drupkin in curling mixed doubles. Silver for Ben Ogden, cross-country skiing men's sprint classic. He got 2 medals in this Olympics. Silver for Alex Hall, freestyle skiing men's freestyle slope style. Bronze for Jacqueline Wiles and Paula Moltzen in alpine skiing women's team combined. Bronze for Ashley Farquharson for the luge. That was a big surprise too. Gold for the team figure skating. Gold for Breezy Johnson, alpine skiing women's downhill. And more medals came yesterday. So there you go, folks. $1 million for showing your sports bra. That is pretty impressive for Jutta Leerdam. All right, folks, that's the news for today. I'll take questions now and comments from people. What do we want to talk about? Women's hockey player got engaged to a women's speed skater. No doubt. No doubt. Not a surprise. $1 million for, yep. All right, what we got here? Haunting residents at risk as water tap could contain sewage. Good Lord. They want to scream for Palestine, but everything they do, abortion, gays, alphabet people, women's rights, all go against what Palestinians believe. Exactly. Well, gays for Gaza, remember that? Remember that. He was served more papers before he entered court. I didn't hear that, Meerkat. Thank you for sharing that. It's a whole bunch of European countries withdrawing from Eurovision because they don't want Israel to compete. Yep, well, it's because they're anti-Semitic. What a tragedy. Nasty piece of work. Falls. Oh, you told me that, yeah. We'll forward to some friends the videos. See, good for pain management. Okay. Al Jazeera needs to go and have a chat with the Cameroonian border guards about what's happening over the border. Yep. Yep, Flesh and agreed. Did anyone see the video of the shop in Deep Sloot where you go and refill containers with food for next to nothing? No, I haven't seen that. Henny Visa, I missed your 35 Rand super sticker. Thank you for that. What do you bump? What do you beat up about? What's wrong, Henny? You okay? 89 Rand for 200 grams of Brussels sprouts. Well, I just wouldn't eat Brussels sprouts. Ugh. I haven't seen that Zimbabwe's taking land. There's a security barrier at the end to check how you have to scan your till slip to exit. Yeah, that's common in some places. Yep. I had that in Germany, too. A few years back, I had to scan my receipt from a self-checkout. Yep. East Coast Ostrich, what's going on? Who gets excited? Yeah, 400 million exports. Yep. All right, 325 likes, 455 people still here, and a little bit of chat revenue. Thank you for that. And what? The criminals here with self-checkout, free shopping, and then selling at ludicrous prices. Yeah, who cares about plums exactly? Stoneford. I'm sorry, what South African doesn't know what's going on in Russia? They were probably paid a bunch to go. They knew exactly what they're getting to. Agreed, G9. Agreed. Okay, the chat's been a little slower today than usual. 1961, Dottie says, Ek wonder wat don he here in South Africa. Yeah, I wonder what he's doing in South Africa too. Why isn't he in Zimbabwe? YouTube going haywire. I had to refresh 3 times to see the stream. Chat was going fine. That's crazy, Pistons. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, YouTube and X and a lot of things have had trouble the past few days. Hewlett is about to close down. One of the largest sugar producers in Southern, estimated 240,000 jobs are in 200,000 jobs jeopardy. Yep. MK Interiors. Nothing will happen. He's black and connected. Yep, correct. East Coast Ostrich says there's millions of Zimbabweans in South committing crimes, taking jobs, brainwashing students. Carlos, what's going on, man? Andy hired 40 Thai working ladies. Well, I didn't really. That would really be an abuse of power there, wouldn't it? Epstein's only the tip of the iceberg. Yep, we'll see. All right, that takes me to the top. All right, let me get rid of that now. Unpin the message. Okay. All right, because I can answer questions now. All right, for those of you who think that was a little spicy or grumpy at the beginning, I wasn't. I'm just trying to make a point. It's getting frustrating. People who just their first response is to put their hands up in the air instead of trying to stand up for themselves. Brussels sprouts are baby cabbage. They don't taste like cabbage, man. Rika, sent me mail, please. If you got time, could you look at it? Well, I'll look at it right now. I don't have time for anything. I'm going to be watching a women's hockey game here. That's the plan anyway. Come on. Screenshots. No, that's not a case number. That's not a case number. Let me look at this. That is not a case number. No such thing. No, case numbers start with SF. Yeah. No, that's not real. It might be some internal filing number, but it's not a refugee case number. No. No. Yep. Debbie says, thank you for the news. You're welcome. Always providing facts. Well, I try, Webwolf. I try. Yeah, I've never liked Brussels sprouts. I like broccoli, but I've never liked Brussels sprouts. Ugh, gosh, disgusting. And there's another one that was from Webwolf. Thank you both. They are kind of expensive to buy these days. Tina's around pose also first line to lie before they learn to speak. Well, that may be true. Okay, what I'm telling you, Rikus, is that is not a case number. I don't know what that is. That maybe that's an internal thing that RSC uses, but it's not a case number. Your refugee case number begins with an SF. Back me up here, guys. Who believes that a case number begins with SF? Call from a Kenyan number, but was shot and critical after shooting Mugabe's son. What? I know. Okay, it's getting messed up here. WhatsApp call. Yeah, they do call on WhatsApp sometimes. That's true, Rudy. Yep. Thank you, Michael, for your membership. Debate for Sona Round. People is adamant that B will be enforced and not removed. He said, despite some cabinet ministers against it. Yeah, I'm not telling you that that's not legitimate, Rikus. What I'm telling you is that that's. Thank you. Oh, these are gifted memberships. I'm not telling you that it's not legitimate. People contact you. What I'm telling you is that's not your case number. That may be some internal thing, but it's not a case number. Yep, see, look at this. Everybody. Yes, it's SF. Which parliament? Meerkat. South Africa's parliament. I did not see it today. Ramaphosa, I didn't see his response. I might have the U.S. Oh, you have the flu, Sammy. Sorry to hear that. U.S. medicine's strong. Yeah, they are. They can be, Sammy Whammy. They can be if you get the right stuff. Even the over-the-counter stuff can be very effective, but it can make you tired. Yep. Mari says I'm correct. It does start with SF. There are two other numbers which are internal numbers. You only focus on the SF number, and also, people, please read the emails thoroughly. Exactly. You need to read your emails thoroughly. Yep. Give us a Lekka song. Throw us a Lekka song, says Garrett. You get a call verification number at the beginning and then your SF number after your first interview. Yep. That's probably what it is, Steph. Again, that's what I'm saying. It's not a case number. Yeah, people are confusing things. You got to read the stuff they send you and understand it, folks. Okay? Sometimes give you an idea for the first call, but a case number. Well, I think they always give you one. They just don't necessarily tell you about it. Thank you, Westtown, for the 35 Rand. Colonel Wyatt fan has to go, where you going, man? You're supposed to be my Alpha One Allison, man. You're supposed to be here to the bitter end. I mean, you got to go. Where is your loyalty? Have a good one. Take care. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all the folks who tuned in last night and for those who are still here today. Yeah, so let's check in on the Olympics and see what's going on right now. Okay, I want to check in on the Olympics. That's going to be over here. By the way, did you guys check this out? I don't know how to contact this guy. If anybody has a contact with him, I'd love to have it. Ronaldo mentioned this guy yesterday. It's just awesome. His content's pretty cool. I mean, this is a channel that has the ability to have 100,000 subscribers, 200,000 subscribers, 300,000 subscribers. Maybe people get tired of it, but I thought watching one video was pretty cool. This is Ride and Bite with Chris, and this is something Ronaldo mentioned, so I checked it out. It's interesting. This guy rides around on his bike in South Africa.
We got the first order for today. It's 10 minutes to 5, and we're on our way to McDonald's now.
Yeah, so he rides around on his scooter. It's a white guy in South Africa. He's in the Parklands area in Cape Town. I'd love to interview him, especially in person if I get back to South Africa. I'd love to interview him. I'm watching him drive around Parklands and Sandown and Blobergstrand, and I'm like, I know that place, I know that place, I know that place, I know that place. It's so funny.
Oh, man, I hate complexes.
Yeah, he's got to drive into a gated community, and it slows him down.
They take so much longer.
I actually know that gated community. Anyway, it's called Ride with Chris and Bites. So he doesn't have a lot of subscribers, just 800. Let's see if we can get him over 1,000. Can you guys go get him over 1,000? I think it's a fascinating channel. I'd love to interview him. If anybody knows him, please put me in touch with him because he has no email on his account. And I'd love to interview him. It would be super cool. You got to meet Alan Bosak. Wow. Wow, that's interesting. Alan Bosak. That's a voice from the past. The end of apartheid. Stefan wants to know what my thoughts are about the Chinese American who represents China, who's a privileged little turd that goes to Stanford when someone else should be there. She should be deported to China and stripped of her citizenship. She's treasonous. She's born in America to American citizen parents, and she goes and competes for China because she says, we need to make the sport known in China. Why? Why don't you make the sport known in America? No, screw her. Screw her. Not a fan. Not a fan. The media loves her, but they love anything that betrays America. Nope, she can go to China, and her mom can go back to China with her. Yep. Yep. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Talking about Eileen Gu, right? Eileen Gu. Gu back to China. Go back with your commie friends. Those are medals stolen from America. The 2 or 3 medals she's won, those are stolen. They should be in our total. We should be ahead of Italy at this point. Shame on her. Yeah, I doubt that the unemployment rate in Cape Town is just 20%. It's got to be higher than that. They must be excluding the Cape Flats. You're all guessing at what model motorcycle or bike that is. Oh, Bobby says that you're way behind, Bobby. That's a long time ago in the chat. I'm not angry. Nope. All right, James. You need to stop worrying about that. You need to worry when you find out what your airline is. It's 23 kgs per bag. Some airlines you get 2 bags. Some you only get 1 these days. You get a carry-on and a personal item. Okay? There's no such thing as a big suitcase and a smaller suitcase in a backpack. No. You get checked baggage, 1 bag at 23 kg or 2 if the airline's generous. You get a carry-on item, which must be small enough to fit in that little thing that they put at the airport. And you get a personal item. I used to carry a rucksack and my satchel. I don't carry the rucksack anymore. Now I just put the laptop in my satchel and carry that. And then I take a carry-on bag. I take my gym bag, which has spare pair of underwear, socks, pair of shorts, maybe a thin shirt in case my luggage gets lost, and then magazines usually, and then electronics like my power banks and such. 1 check bag, 1 carry-on, 1 personal bag. Backpack can be a personal bag, that's right. Not if it's a massive, outbacking one. Yes, they have dimensions. Yep, I just said that. It has to fit in that thing. It's not a refugee thing. It has nothing to do with refugees. It's the airlines. That's why, James, you need to relax. And when you find out what airline you're flying on, deal with them. When I went to South Africa in 2022, I had to wear a stupid mask the whole way. I flew from Harrisburg to Chicago on United, no mask. Got to Chicago, spent the afternoon in Chicago airport, no mask. Tens of thousands of people walking next to me. Walked up to the flight. They told me I had to put a mask on in order to get on the plane. Got on a plane, I had to wear a mask all the way to Germany for 8 hours, 9 hours. Got to Germany, got out, spent 10 hours in the airport, walking around the airport, no mask. Got on a plane, forced to fly from Frankfurt for 12 hours to Cape Town with a mask on. Got to South Africa, flew on FlySAF Airlink, never wore a mask. Stupid people. That was their requirement. It's an airline requirement. They're a bunch of retards. The European Union didn't even require it. German Aviation Authority didn't require it. But Lufthansa, because the scumbag fascist descendants of the Nazis that run Germany demanded that we wear masks because they don't know anything about infectious disease because they're retards. Airlines used to be got 2 bags at 45 kg or something. Was it 40? I think it was 45. Then they downloaded to 2 bags at 23 kg. Now you're down at 1 bag at 23 kg on some airlines, and other airlines you get no bag. You can buy tickets with no bags. It's ridiculous. How you expect to travel for weeks on end with no bags? It's retarded. I advertise for free. You will laugh at what people come get. I got rid of all my rubbish outside. No need to rehire. Oh, there you go, expats. Smart move. Get rid of everything you don't need. Keep essentials to last minute. A phone, a secondhand shop to collect once you get your tickets. There you go. Well, you can just give it away or leave it there. There's different options. Hey, Corey, your tickets, who will be the for? Huh? Corey, thank you for the super chat, but I don't know what you're saying. Your tickets, who will be the commentator for us? What does that mean? People think there's only 100 refugees in the U.S.? Where was that at? Were they commenting on it? What will happen if America goes to war with Iran? How will it affect the rest of the world? Well, China will be in trouble because it gets 2 million barrels of oil from Iran. Yeah, a day, I think it is. Isn't that right? Maybe it's not that much. No, it can't be 2 million a day. That sounds kind of high. But China gets oil from Iran. Without the oil from Iran, they're going to be in trouble. So China will be affected immediately. Other countries will be affected, like Europeans, who won't get as much oil out of the Gulf, particularly if a naval conflict starts in the Gulf. Yep. Yeah, so it's going to affect the world's economy. Absolutely. Yep, that's what's going to happen. See, Emirates is 27. Yeah, see, there are different airlines, but most airlines is 23 kg. That's the standard. There are companies come and make an effort on all your house contents. Happy about your tickets, Colonel. Oh, thank you, Corey. Happy about your tickets, but who will be our commentator to share the games? Oh, well, that's a fair question. Well, I won't be at every game. I mean, some of the games I'll probably cover. We'll see. But yeah, well, I mean, the World Cup was the same thing in France. I had to quit doing it because I got attacked by the fake World Rugby clowns. And I got a strike. So that's one reason why my channel didn't grow. That's why Egg Chasers has, a couple 100,000. I have 10,000. Yeah. Plus, he's rich and he can hang around on yachts, and people find that much more interesting than me walking on the dock. You're welcome for the news, Joe. My pleasure. David, what's up? Well, the tickets were interesting. I went back in to get a quarter-final ticket for Sydney, and if I want to pay $1,300 or $3,800, I can have a ticket. Otherwise, I can't get a ticket. They're all gone. So I'm going to look for people that wait and look for people who resell their tickets. Yep, I got a UFN number on an intake questionnaire. That is different. Yeah, the UFN number is not your case number. You don't have a case until you have an SF. When you have an SF, then you have a case. Yep. You're very welcome. Be sure to hit the like button, folks. How many of you have done that so far? We got 382 likes and still people here. A little bit of super chat revenue. That's all dying down here. I need those of you refugees coming to America, you need to get those big, high-paying jobs so you can become paying members and you can give super chats and you can watch the ads. Long time ago, you were shadow banned. I had shirts for your channel again. I've been shadow banned many, many times, Pistons. Sometimes I broke the algorithm and get through it, but most of the times I don't. Yeah, Joe, you're a bit behind in the conversation. Yep. So, yeah. Well, you just have to know at Colonel Chris Wyatt. The channel's there. You got to go looking for it. But yes, you won't get notified even though you're supposed to get notified. But I mean, I've been attacked left and right. I've been attacked by people with fake stories in the media, lying about the refugee program, lying about me, slandering me, committing criminal injuria, and defamation of character. I get that. Not in the U.S. media because they know they'll be sued. No, none of them have lied about me. It's the South African media because they think that I won't sue them. Well, don't count those chickens before they hatch. Yeah, because I have consulted attorneys. But also, my Twitter account was hacked, and then they set up two-factor authentication, which I couldn't change. It took until this morning to get my account back. I finally have my Twitter account back now. Yep. No, I didn't say Egg Chasers broadcast. You didn't understand what I said, Arc Precision. Egg Chasers had a small channel, like I did for rugby. Went to the World Cup. The guy's incredibly wealthy, and he hung out in Marseille and places like that, in Toulon, down on the port, on the boats and stuff like that. Yeah, that's what I said. And I didn't say his content was bad, but he does comment. He does, and now he does lots of it. He's making all kinds of coin, which is good for him. Fantastic for him. That's awesome. Yes, we have YouTube Premium in America, Jeannie. What do you mean you don't have it? We invented it. What do you mean you don't have it? Sent me a WhatsApp, says Rikus. Okay. You did? Okay, I got it. But I don't have you on my book because I didn't. Okay, see, I'm glad. I would have never found that. Well, you may have sent me an email a long time ago, but I just looked at your email, did I not? We just talked about this, but Lots of people send me emails. It doesn't mean I see them. I have thousands of messages. I can't possibly answer all these. That's the thing that's also becoming a bit frustrating, is that people, their feelings get hurt because I don't address them. You know, I'm one person here. I mean, I don't even have a life. I don't. I haven't gone to a ball game. I haven't done any. I did go to a basketball game when I was in Dallas, just because I was there. But I mean, I do almost nothing for myself anymore. I do everything for everybody else. And you know, it's not like it's paying off in any financial or fame way, neither which I'm seeking. Hey, Mara. Well, I have a scale. Let me see if it's here. I think it's out there. I have these little hand scales. You can buy them, you know, travel shops. You just put them on and you lift it up and hold it. But you got to be able to lift 23 kg, otherwise you're going to have a problem. Yeah, you buy a scale PEP for 60 Rand. That sounds about right. It's a government unnumber. I don't know what the heck that means. Okay, Merla says you don't get notifications unless you have liked all the previous streams. I don't think that's how it works, but thank you for the 70 Rand. No, Janine, that's never, no. I never said anyone has to become anything. No, you don't have to become a member. You don't even have to be a subscriber to watch my channel, but I won't get credit if you don't subscribe. That's one of the problems I have in South Africa. Thousands of South Africans watch my content, but they're not subscribers, so I get no credit for it. And any ad revenue goes directly to YouTube. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's not true. I get the money even if you're not a subscriber. No, I didn't say you have to become a member. And I didn't say you have to watch ads. I said if you watch the ads, it generates revenue, and I appreciate it. Pay for premium, and then you don't get any ads. But I get something. People have asked that before. Do I get anything from YouTube Premium? I actually do get a bit of money. Thank you, Tanya, for your subscription. Let me go to that. Where is... Oh, that's not it. I'm looking in the wrong place. Okay, I need to look here. And I'll tell you. So... it doesn't show premium anymore. It used to show premium here. I gotta look for it here. Okay, YouTube Premium is currently about 7.8% of the revenue for the channel. So that's not something to sneeze at. I get money from that. So if you have YouTube Premium and you watch, thank you, Lee Klaus. If you are a YouTube Premium member, I get something if you watch my channel. Absolutely. Yep, it's 7.8% of my income. So by comparison, my shorts, I get 0.2% of the income. Gifted memberships is almost 5%. That's something. So thank you for that. Oh, the sound is off. Sorry, the sound is off. Sorry. I know the sound is off. Hang on. Now that time I didn't turn the sound off. The microphone got turned off by the software. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so when I travel, yeah, I know it says England Rugby. Sorry about that, but it's a handy little bag I got for just a few pounds when I was at Twickenham. So in here, in my carry-on, I typically, and this hasn't been unpacked since Dallas, I carry electronics. So it's cushioned to protect them. So there is the traditional earpieces. I use Samsung earpieces to plug in my laptop. I can't use it on my phone anymore because phones no longer have RJ35 jacks. So you have to use freaking Bluetooth. So that's in there. Here is a spare cord for a USB-C charger. Here is an adapter for USB-C to USB standard, plus a micro SD card reader. Okay, and adapter. Here is an adapter that goes from USB-C to USB 2. And here's a USB-C to USB-C extender cord. Here is a power bank. Here is the backup charger, the rapid charger. This is a USB to USB-C cord that's about 2 meters, so I can run my laptop to do things across the room. This is an extender that goes into USB-C port on my laptop, and it has micro SD cards, compact flash, USB 2, USB 1, and then HDMI port over here. And this is just a pair of earplugs. And then I have my microphones that I use. I've shown these to people before. What is this? So that's where these are the microphones that come out, and they got little magnets and they attach. You see the light coming on there? They attach onto, and then this is the adapter that goes on the bottom of the phone. It just plugs in the C port, and there's my microphones. That recharges, you can see as a charge, charging both of them at 94%. And all the accoutrements in there, and then I have the scale, which is what I went to get. All right, so here's the scale. So this little thing here, you run this loop, just run this through your bag so that it hooks onto the bag like that, and then you lift it up, you turn it on, you can measure in pounds or kilos. I always do it in kilos because the airline's measuring kilos. So it comes up, but the one problem with this one is the battery runs out pretty quickly. So that's currently in pounds, so I need to change it to kilos. Come on, there we go. Kgs, okay, let me let that set. Okay, is it 0.0 kgs? See that? And then you just put weight on, look at that, 29 kgs of weight, I'm pulling that, okay? There you go. So, piece of cake. You just power it off, and it's off. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, how you need to check your bait. If you're old scale, you can sit on old school, you can jump on a scale, but that's not an ideal way to do it. But it's a way to do it. So, lots of ways to do this. But that's just how I handle things. And that's a small portion of things I have to carry just to do things. I used to carry my dashboard camera in here, but I don't need a dashboard camera in America. I'm not filming the scenery, unless like when I went out to Idaho and Wyoming, I had it for that. But yeah, anyway, so there you go. So that's just one way of doing things, okay? That's just my way. Got a little handle there too, but that goes in my carry-on because you can't put power banks in your checked luggage. They'll explode. All right. Charlie Kirk mics, yeah. What is the question, USB or C type? I try to be, Ingrid. You have to have, like here, look at this. Here's a USB to a C connector right there. See that? Got that? Solid state drives. This one is it 2 terabytes? How much is in this? No, it's not 2 terabytes. How much is in it? I can't forget. It doesn't say. Solid state drive. That's a solid state drive from Buffalo, but it's the old USB 2. Yep. Prepare for everything. You got to be. Everything changes. There is sound. You're behind. You're behind. Flesh-In has the same scale. That's pretty cool. I've gone through several of them. The best one I ever bought, I bought in Djibouti at the Naval Exchange. And unfortunately, the piece in the center that's under the scale, it popped out and it wouldn't go back in because it was too worn. It's a shame. They're really good. I've got some other ones which suck. They're bigger. That one's fantastic. Yep. Garrett has the same one. Yep. I mean, that's the secret, folks. Bluetooth headphones can connect to entertain. Yes, I know. And that's what I had to do on my flight coming back from Dallas. These are Beats. One of the few times I spend money on Beats, but these didn't cost that much. So, yeah, Beats. These work pretty well. And so, you know, but they're not ideal, but they work pretty well. I need to charge them, actually. Let me put them on a charge, because I think I've been using it for a while. Let's see. Where the heck's the plug? There we go. All right. So they're charging now. I need to charge. Gee, good to go. Yeah, Corey, you're welcome. Those are some useful... Oops, I forgot to put the earplugs back in. I'll take care of that later. Yeah, but it's not every place works with Bluetooth. So on my flight to... oh, that's one more that I have. Let me go get that. I'll hang on. I'll be right back. On my flight to Dallas, the plane did not have Bluetooth. It had RJ35 jacks. And so I have these Beats, which I bought a long time ago. One pair broke. I had to get another pair. And these Beats have a very long cord on them. And it's a nice packaged, little carrier so they don't get lost. And then... see, that gives you length you can plug into the screen in front of you and sit all the way back here. That is about 5 feet, yeah. Well, about 4 or 5 feet, yeah. So that's pretty good. Maybe it's 3 feet. Anyway, it's pretty long. So, yep. And it's got a volume control here, up and down on this thing. So, yeah. So this I had to plug into the screen. On the way back, there was no screen. I had to use my mobile phone. There was no in-flight entertainment. It was all done by Wi-Fi. Whereas there was on-screen entertainment on the way down, and I had to plug this in. So I carry both. These are also Beats, as I said. I carry both just to be prepared. Look, I mean, you travel around the world. You can't sit there and count on things. I mean, I've had to replace screen covers. I used to carry an extra screen cover in case my screen cover broke, because invariably in South Africa, I wind up breaking a screen cover every time I go, no matter what happens. But then the one time I didn't have a screen cover, so I had to get a crappy one from an Arab shop, and it didn't work very well. No, I have a power bank, but I sleep with crap machine CPAP. Well, it doesn't mean you won't be able to sleep. Right when the colonel's talking about revenue from gifted memberships. Yeah, hey, Light Rain. Yeah, the USB does charge your phone, but it's incredibly slow. So it's not really charging it. It will charge, but in theory, but it's really slow, especially if a lot of people have their phones plugged in. I've left mine plugged in for hours, and it barely nudged a couple times. But yeah, have a power bank and then use that. Now that you can use your phones on Wi-Fi while you're traveling, you go through your phone a lot faster. It used to be put in airplane mode, and it was fine. Nothing really changed. It only went down 1 or 2% until you got to your destination. But now that you can use Wi-Fi in international flights, a lot of times you drain your battery. So anyway, you seen the new Magellan Space Telescope? I have not, Garrett. Helena says, "Aish gone. What's gone, Helena?" You bought your scale at PEP. Okay, well, that's good. Used to get field ears. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. It came in tears. Are the power outlets? Yes, they're USB ports, Ginny. They're USB 2 normally. Yep. Or 1. They're USB ports. That's correct. Fawn says, unlike the people seeing the lady in front of me basically reclined him. Yeah, that pisses me off to no end. That is so inconsiderate. So inconsiderate. I never recline my chair unless I'm forced to, and then I always ask the person behind me. I've had my drink spilled on me. I've had my food knocked in my lap. I've had my knee jammed and bruised because people I've noticed, they just do this with their chairs. They're such assholes. How does Wi-Fi work if you get your own home? What do you mean, is it fiber? If it's fiber, it's not Wi-Fi. If you have fiber, you're not on Wi-Fi. You're connected to the network over fiber. I don't understand that question. That doesn't make any sense to me. There's nothing you can do when they recline their chair. You can ask the flight attendant. You can ask them, but most people are assholes that do it. They're arrogant, self-centered pricks, most of them. Some are unknowing. They haven't flown before. They don't think about it. Most are just arrogant pricks. You can ask the flight attendant, but the flight attendants are pusses. Most of them won't say anything. They won't do anything. But it's wrong because it's dangerous. In my case, with one hip, I can't even get up if I have to get up. I mean, I've gotten up and the seat is like this, and I've had to, as I stand up, I hit the seat. And so I make a big point, and whenever I get up, and I get up frequently to go to the bathroom, just bang in the back of their seat. I'm not going to bend myself and twist and pull a muscle and spasm my back because they're rude. Yep. Okay, you don't understand the difference between Wi-Fi and fiber. Oh, okay. Well, let me explain. Okay, so fiber is fiber optic cable. It's glass. Fiber optic cable is capable of carrying immense amounts of data. And there's no degradation or very little degradation going both directions because it takes very little power to push the data. So with fiber, you typically get the same or close to the same speeds for download and upload. So download and upload, you get the same. Whereas with coax, that's cable, which is copper, you get high throughput. So I can get a gigabyte of download per second, but I get much lower upload because it can only handle so much power going out because it's pushing it that way, if that makes sense. That is fiber and coax. Wi-Fi is a radio signal. Wireless fidelity is what it stands for, okay? So fidelity being reliability and clearness. So Wi-Fi is simply a router, a little transmitter that receives data to and from your internet connection. But your router has to be plugged into something. It doesn't magically reach the internet. Your router is plugged into fiber or it's plugged into coax or something like that. Or a wireless network, you mobile network, but then you have much slower speeds. Okay? ADSL is autonomous, dual synchronized, whatever. Anyway, the ADSL is old. That's another form of connection. That also relies on copper, if I'm not mistaken. ADSL doesn't exist in America anymore. Nobody, that went out with the dodo bird. Yeah, that's no longer around anymore. You're welcome, Nicola Reddick. Okay. Yeah, so fiber is the material that gets you the signal. At some point, everybody goes out over cable or fiber. Everyone's signal. To get the internet, that's the backbone. It's fiber optics all over. Yeah. Fiber carries light signals. That's correct. Wi-Fi is a radio frequency. Coax is electric. Exactly. Well said, Garrett. Yes, correct. Fiber goes into your home, or coax goes into your home, and then your router is connected to that, and then your phone connects to the router Wi-Fi. Yes, ADSL, uses telephone lines, exactly, which are copper. That's old. Yep, ADSL is ancient. If you have ADSL, you're living in the 20th century. John Jacobs, thank you for the super chat. Dial-up, catching up with your movie videos. Oh my goodness, Kati van you're living in 1987. Wow. Or you take a multi-plug with and just go buy a plug to change it. What are you talking about? Change what? Are you talking about adapters? Well, the problem is South Africans have these ridiculously large adapters. You're not alone, though. So this is a South African adapter. That's ridiculous. That's a South African adapter. That's insane. Absolutely insane. By contrast, I'll show you what an American plug looks like. But the American plugs are much more easy to damage if you bang into them. Now, here we go. So this is what you need to plug into a South African main. That's what you need to plug into an American main. And that's with a grounding line. That's a 3-plug. When I was a kid, they didn't have those. They started adapting those as a kid, and that's become the norm. This is South African. This ridiculous, 1 kg freaking dead weight. This is American. We can plug European plugs, Australian plugs. The Australian ones are the ones that go at an angle like this. And then that plugs into there like that. So that's an adapter. But you need the reverse of that. You need South Africa to US. You have to get that in South Africa because nobody here is going to have that. Nobody deals with South Africa. And this is a UK plug. Not as heavy, but almost as ridiculous. So see those flanges there? Instead of the round ones like you have, they have the flat ones. There's the ground plug there. Once again, plug into that. So I have to carry all this crap, yep, to go everywhere because nobody can have a standard plug. Now, you might think that kind of sucks, Chris. Well, it does kind of suck, guys. But the reality is that that's no big deal. I lived in Italy, and in Italy, I had 7 different mains in the house. The house had 7 different plugs. I'd have all kinds of adapters living in Italy. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. Yep. 30 minutes behind. Okay, Sammy. You get a U.S. to South Africa adapter discount. I got one for CPAP. I don't know how quick I can get the U.S. power cable. Yeah, you can get them lots of places. You can also get them the travel agency in South Africa. The Automobile Club sells them. In Northcliffe, I was in the Automobile Club. They sell them. They're not cheap, though. We're talking about, these things used to cost $4 or $5. Now they're $20. What is all what on the floor? Isn't the floor? I have a shelf over there. That's on the bottom shelf. On the bottom shelf are the adapters. And this power bank is also there. So, and another power bank. And this stupid waste of money. Pivo. This proved to be a waste of money. Yep. This you mount your mobile phone on, and it follows you on the camera. So if you're like cooking in the kitchen, you set it down or you mount it on a tripod, you put your phone in here, and it turns and follows your motion. I found it to be next to useless for me. So another gadget that was unnecessary. So anyway, yep. And as far as what's on the floor behind me, that also was on the floor, that plug. That plug is on the bottom shelf of the table behind me. The shelf behind me. So, nothing on the floor, boys. Nothing on the floor. I know you can't see the bottom shelf. That's where I keep the cadavers. I mean the parts. Rather buy a new cable to plug into your CPAP. Cables are cheap. Yeah, they are these days. Just need a new power cable for a laptop. Well, first off, you better make sure that your CPAP is dual voltage. If your CPAP is not 110, 240, 50 to 60 cycles, hertz, then it's not going to work. If it's only 240, you won't be able to use it. You'll have to use a transformer and it won't run properly. New plug points have 2 sockets, but you can't plug a surge protector in one socket and something else in the other socket because there's enough clearance. That's wild. Nicola Reddick gave 140 minutes super chat. Wow, thank you for that. Pistons is laughing about something. What would adapter help if your appliances use 220 instead of 110? Won't help at all. You'll burn it up. You'll burn it up. Well, actually, it won't burn up. It just won't run. It's the other way around. People plug 110 and 220. You have to have either auto switching voltage or it has to have a switch that turns it. An adapter will not help you. Will not help you. Read your previous message. Eric, I don't see any message from you. There's no previous message from you. State your case. No message. Nope. Going back as far as I can. All the way back to 18 minutes ago. Oh, Erica, sound is back. Yeah, sound is back. That's your last message. Yep, that's the last message I see from you. So why do you want me to read that again? Yeah. CPAP came from States. I have a step down here. Oh, okay. So you're already using a converter. Yep. Yes, most do, Neff. That's true. But I grew up in an era when that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. You know, the worst, not that I really used it much, but the worst offenders of that were hair curlers and blow dryers. Those things never had dual voltage. Razors almost always had dual voltage. Computers always had dual voltage, but used to be you had to switch it. Now it's not so much anymore. Now it's automatic. But computer always check so you don't burn it up. The American plug falls out, not the South African. Nope. None of my plugs fall out. You've got a bad connection. We must be in an old place. You must be in an old place, Erica. It must be in an old place. You need to have them change that connector inside there. Shouldn't fall out. Monster Max says South African plugs are the most dangerous there are. Oh, I didn't realize that. I have a question. See, I know we'll be paying back the tickets. Biome said that my daughter will need a medical escort on board. No, I've not heard of that, Spice Nagel. I've not heard of that, and I don't know the answer. I suspect no, that should be one of the services provided, but unless Well, maybe because they have to pay for their flight. I don't know. But that should be something that's provided by IOM. That should be in their budget. Yeah, well, travel agents aren't the best place to buy power adapters. The best place to buy an adapter is an electrical store or a superstore like Game or something like that. That's the best, least expensive. So, I mean, I've got adapters out the wazoo. I've got adapters for Europe, and those are frustrating because the little ones are nice, but then if you have the ground plug for the U.S., you plug it in, it sticks on top of it. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, I've got all kinds of adapters. Now, for the World Cup, I'll need Australian adapters. Yep, I'm going to have to. I think I've got one or two of those somewhere. Yep. People like to buy those multi-adapters. I find they don't last. They're very expensive, $30, $40 to $50 now to buy those multi-adapters. You used to be able to get them through duty-free on planes and at airports. And you pull them apart and do this, that, and the other, but they don't seem to work very well. I've got a couple of them, and several of them just stop working. U.S. have power in the bathrooms. In South Africa, it's illegal. Of course we have power in the bathroom. How else are you supposed to plug your hairdryer in and your toothbrush and your water pick? It's illegal to have electricity in your bathroom in South Africa? I didn't know that. Never noticed that. Got all my new cables from Best Buy. Well, that's a little pricey, Utopi. Best Buy is overpriced. Owned by leftists from Minnesota. Well, we quietly dropped to 376 viewers. I didn't realize that. I wasn't paying attention. Shame. All right, 450 likes. That's better. Laptops and electronics will work in the States. It's just one to replace the power cord. That's not true. That's not true, expats. Television's the thing you have to worry about. They are seldom dual voltage. But who's bringing television? You saw an article by Reuters about ICE and refugees. Okay, I'm going to look for that. Reuters. Okay. Trump expands ICE authority to detain refugees. Broader powers to detain legal refugees awaiting green card to ensure they're re-vetted. Now, that seems unnecessary. Detain and inspect requirement ensures that refugees are re-vetted after 1 year. Under U.S. law, refugees must apply. See, this is where the whole thing started with the Hepburn lady. She called me a liar and said I was misleading people when she was wrong. Here it is right here in print. Under U.S. law, refugees must apply for lawful permanent residence status 1 year after their arrival. You can't do it before then. The new memo authorized immigration authorities to detain individuals for the duration of the reinspection process. Well, that's not right. That's not right. I don't think that one's going to hold up. That's from Ted Hessen. That's, wow. Wow. Oh, that's this one. Ted Hessen, you didn't tell me about it again. Wow. Quick question, Francois. Go ahead. Pre-payment is very much the thing in the USA. You can get it without long contracts. Yep. You're welcome, Hester. How you doing? How you doing, Hester? Do you get prepaid internet service in the U.S. or only U.S. Debbie, we mean try again. I never saw any question from you. You get both. You get both. Here's... So here's from AARP, being a member of the retirement BS. I paid like $10 for 5 years. $55 for 2 lines, unlimited talk, text, and data. So you get internet on that. T-Mobile offers it. Internet service providers offer it. I never had a contract for my internet. Never had a contract. I've always paid for it month to month. Electrical appliances work with smoke. If the smoke escapes, they don't work anymore. Yes, TVs are even. I just bought a 65-inch LED television for $318 for the Veterans Club. I paid for it out of my pocket. Yep, a few weeks ago so they could watch the Super Bowl. And then they didn't watch it. Jeez. After screaming they want a TV. Yep, that's how it works, folks. Yep, that's how it works. Yep. Dirt cheap. You have to understand, I've explained this many, many times to my viewers. You pay a fortune for a laptop. What you pay $1,200 for in South Africa, I can get for $350 in the U.S. usually. Now, this is before pre-tariff, so you have to take that into consideration. And the reason for that is that in Botswana or South Africa, you have to sell 100 laptops a month, maybe. You have to make a lot of money just to live. So you have to have big margins because you have expenses. You have to pay for electricity, you have to pay for transport, you have to pay for security, you have to pay for salaries, yada, 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 taxes. In America, you sell 1,000 in a month or 10,000. You sell volume. So you can have a much lower profit margin and still make tons of money. When you have 230 million people buying things versus 4 million people, you can have much lower margins and still make a ton of money. That's why things are so much cheaper here. The volume of things that are sold here. Yeah, the older equipment had switches on it, like the power supplies on PCs especially. And some hair dryers had that too when they eventually started doing it. Okay, Francois Ferrer, what was your question? Yeah. All electrical outlets near water faucet need to be ground fault protected. It measures the flow and will shut on instantly if shorted. Yep, there you go. I didn't realize it, but I think I knew that at some point. 100 Rand. That's $5. That's a pretty good deal. US is 60 watts. We're 110, 60. Europe is 220, 50. I don't know where 80 watts comes from. But no, I'm sorry, watts. No, hertz. I thought, no, that's watts. Yeah, watts is how much power it draws. That's not the issue. What you need to look for is 110, 60 hertz, HZ. You need the hertz, the cycles. The cycles is how the electricity turns as it comes through the feed comes through the line. So hertz, that's watts. That's the amount of power it draws. That's the amount of energy it consumes. The higher the watts, the more power you consume. That's 60 watts is like a light bulb. That's not very much. That's not an issue here. That just affects your electric bill. What you need to worry about is the voltage. You have to have the correct voltage, which is 110 or 115, 110, and the hertz, which is 60. If it's 110, it's going to be 60 hertz. If it's 220 to 240, it's going to be 50 hertz. I used to use CPAP worked when you visited my friend Harrisburg. You've been to Harrisburg? Outlets out there is not illegal, but there are so many rules around it. Like, okay, well, I didn't say it was illegal. I mean, someone else said that. Oh, yeah, no, I know. ARP, I know somebody that started getting it when they were in their 40s. No, somebody started getting ARP things when they were 40s. Because I think at 50 you can join ARP. I never got anything from ARP until past my sell by date. And then they offered it to me for 5 years for $10. I'm like, why not? Super Bowl, 2 Afrikaner families that we've met in Owensboro. Okay. Well, I didn't care for the Super Bowl. How old are all your veterans? A lot of them are very old, Arnie. A significant portion of our veterans that are still alive are Vietnam veterans, and all of them in their 70s. I mean, if you went to Vietnam in 73 as a 17-year-old, which is the earliest you could possibly have done it with your parents, and you got through basic training, but I doubt any 17-year-olds went there in 70. Let's say you were 17 in 73. That means you would have been born in 56, right? Was it 56? Let me see. 56, yeah, so 56. So 56, that'd be 44, 54, 64. You'd be 69 or 70. So they're all 70, at least 70 years old. And many of them are in their 80s. And so they are old. Yep. The younger veterans aren't joining. One reason that I would be taking the desktop components is due to insanely high prices of RAM and GPU. $260 at Walmart for my laptop. 1 terabyte. Exactly. Exactly. Well, of course I'm right. When you say insanely high prices, that's a matter of perspective. I don't find the price to be insanely high. What I find insanely high are video cards. Yes, hertz is the frequency. Hey, Von Black, what's up? Well, did Francois Forever ask his question? I'm looking for it. Nicole Raddick, okay. Francois Forever says, can I ask a question? Then I don't see his question. I'm looking. Where's the question at, man? You're welcome, Louis. Someone I know took his CPU and RAM and bought the rest cheap at Amazon. Yeah, you can rebuild your computer. Bring the hard drive, bring your RAM. If you want, bring your CPU. If you know how to build a computer. It doesn't take much care of that stuff. Watts is power. It's what I said. Voltage is potential. Resistance is impedance. And deflation. Okay. Ever share their war stories? There's a trauma. No, nobody talks about that. We don't talk about that. I've never had one conversation with anybody at the VFW about the war. No, nobody talks about that, Meerkat. Anyway, yes, so Ted Hessen did that story. I know Ted. Yep. Anyway, right. Well, the rugby's coming up. Rugby. Got 3 games on Saturday, by the way. I got the Lions makeup game. That's Saturday morning, 7. Then I've got 9 and 11. I've got 2 Six Nations games coming up. We might have a FD interview tomorrow. I'm not sure. I'm waiting to hear back. Let me see if I've got a response. And then we will have one on Sunday and one on Monday. So I don't see a response. Let me see. So I will have FD interview tomorrow. With Pikachu. People laugh when I said last year I read RAM is going to become expensive. Phones are being downgraded. Laptops now mostly soldered and RAM. I don't know that I laughed because the tariffs were going to push everything up at one point by 100%. So, yeah, but we can't talk long, Erica. I got hockey on at 1:10. That's why I asked who you could call this morning. Okay. International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is indeed international. Yeah, there's a few electricians in here, or people at least understand electricity. Yep. Actually, that was one of my projects when I was in 4-H. 4-H is one of the, well, it's really an agricultural organization for youth, helping hands and all that stuff. Anyway, 4-H, one of my projects when I was in high school was electricity. Yep. Ohio birds, water conservation. These are all projects I did. I did some really cool stuff. I learned a lot about things by doing that. It was pretty cool. But, yeah, electricity was one of them. Yep. Slept under the stars in my backyard last night. Well, that's cool. All right. Yeah, okay, I think I've answered that. Anton is having a go with Utopia. The only thing I've never done is been a ham radio operator, something I always wanted to do. So I looked at getting it, but it's so confusing now. It used to be so much easier to understand with the big sets. You had to sit there and get a license. Now they have all these little cheapy sets from China. I never have bought one. I looked at them. I bought a book on it. So Rugby Senate. No, not tomorrow. It'll be on Saturday, Andres. There's no game tomorrow. It's on Saturday. Bringing over laptops? No. There's no problem bringing a laptop. Nope. None whatsoever. Bye, Kathy. Well, SpaceX is going to go public, so we'll see what happens with that. So, anyway. All right, I'm going to wrap it up here, folks. Thanks. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done already. Crown Prince of Norway arrested on 38 charges. Well, I knew he was being investigated. The Prime Minister was being arrested. So the Crown Prince has been arrested. Wow, that's breaking news. No. That's for the son, not for him. That's his rape trial. That's that. You talk about the crown prince himself or the son? The son we know about. All right, guys. Thanks. Take care. All right, cool beans. Thanks for your understanding. Appreciate it. You guys take care. Ciao.